Hello, kings and queens and crowned heads. My name is TB Sky, and if you've been on Twitter or Tumblr or any social media sometime in the last 48 to 72 hours, you've probably come across this girl. This is Bowsette, and she is Bowser wearing the new Super Crown item from the upcoming New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe Edition. God damn it, Nintendo, learn to name things. The Super Crown in that game allows newly added character Toadette to transform into Peachette, a character who looks a lot like, but isn't Princess Peach. Apply that same logic to Bowser and you get this. Lots and lots and lots of this. By the way, all the artwork featured in this video is going to be linked in the description along with the names of the original artists. If you like any of these, do go throw them a follow or a retweet or a like. Our story begins with an artist called HANIWA on Twitter, who on the 19th of September posted this little comic. It spread around the internet, racking up about 15,000 retweets in a few days, producing a bunch of fan art in the process. But where it really took off was on Japanese Twitter, where the Princess Bowser hashtag took off like a rocket and became the #1 trending topic in Japan, where Twitter is a massively popular social media platform. And so the floodgates opened. All of this leads to me asking this question: what's the deal with Bowsette? Usually in this video series, we do a free-flow, chatty discussion about a character, their lore, their backstory, the themes they represent, yada yada, in order to analyze the particulars of their character design, but Bowsette doesn't really have a lore or a backstory. She's a fan-invented character for a single 4-panel gag strip. She is, in very literal terms, a joke. But she's a joke that nonetheless resonated with people, honestly, rather powerfully. Now, one of the reasons why is smut. There's a lot of Bowsette smut, and there's even more cheesecake pinup sexy pictures, and there's a hell of a lot of big cleavage going on in the fan art, and that is to be expected, I guess. Internet gonna internet, and when you have a character who gets Rule 63'd, it's usually only a matter of time until they get Rule 34'd as well. Now, I'm not gonna be discussing the smutty art very much in this video because, I don't want to get demonetized, but suffice it to say that yes, a lot of Bowsette's popularity comes down to sheer thirst, and there's no reason to pretend otherwise. But besides that, what's been fascinating me about the output of fan art is seeing the range of interpretation that Bowsette kicked off. One of Bowsette's greatest strengths as a concept, I think, is that she is an idea that follows logically from the canon of New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. Goddammit, Nintendo. We know that the Super Crown is a thing in that game. We know what it does, but Bowsette herself is not a canonical character, which means that for the fan artists who draw her, the question isn't really, how does Bowsette look in my style, but how would I mix the character design of Bowser and Peach together in an interesting way? Peachette's character design is about 80% Peach with 20% Toadette thrown in. She retains Toadette's pigtails and incorporates the mushroom design around her dress, with Toadette's waistcoat becoming a bow on her chest, but she's otherwise almost entirely Peach. And the original Bowsette does something similar, being more or less a version of Peach with horns, in a black dress, and a bit of Bowser cosplay gear. But again, because she isn't canon, artists can come up with all kinds of different expressions of her basic underlying idea. Now, Bowser and Peach are, from a character design standpoint, almost polar opposites, which is one of the ways that the Mario games communicate visually that they aren't a match for each other, and that Mario therefore needs to rescue her. Bowser is a big, broad lump, half-dragon, half-turtle monster. He has a highly masculine, almost hyper-masculine, burly physique, and from his horns to his armbands to his shells, claws, tail, teeth, and even his hairstyle, he's covered in spiky shapes, signifying his aggression and hinting at his antagonistic role. By contrast, Peach is slender, curvy, rendered with rounded shapes and a tendency towards gentler, more pastel colors. She is hyper-feminine, and the closest to a realistically proportioned human you'd ever see in most Mario games until Odyssey, further contrasting her with Bowser's relative monstrousness. And there is a huge space of possibility between these two extremes, which gives artists a large playground in which to express themselves. Do you tilt towards Peach, rendering Bowser in feminine terms with a softness, curves, and larger eyes? Or do you go in the other direction, leaning into hard muscles, spikes, and aggression? One of the early divides to emerge between fan artists was whether to render Bowsette with Peach's pastel yellow hair and bright skin, or whether to adopt Bowser's red mane and give her darker skin. There are versions where Bowsette is hypermasculine, hard, and monstrous, and some where she's soft, feminine, and slender. Some that retain Bowser's dragon features, and some that merely give her sharp teeth. Some that make her muscular, some that make her petite, some that give her claws, some that give her gloves. There are some that give her scales and dragon-like skin, and some that give her chest hair. There's a lot that give her large breasts and wide hips, playing her as a sexier, evil version of Peach, which is a trope as old as dirt and about as interesting. But there are also plenty that don't. The sheer variety of designs has made following the explosion of Bowsette fan art an actual delight to me. It's fascinating. It demonstrates the range of possibilities that are available to us as designers when we are willing to mix and match creatively. Bowsette was an accident. Haniwa, who invented her, never intended for any of this to happen, but something about mixing Bowser's monstrosity with Peach's femininity struck a nerve with people, especially with artists. And this, combined with the comedy opportunities of having Mario's greatest rival suddenly flirting with him as a sexier double of his usual love interest, and a lot of internet thirst, has ultimately produced something that is more than just a joke and internet thirst, more than just a funny comedy gag and a bunch of pin-up art. Through the sheer variety of artwork, there's been a discourse of a kind, a sort of negotiation on the principles of character design, because what makes Bowser Bowser? Is it just the horns, shell, and spiky armbands, or is the burly physique and bright red hair a necessary part of creating a female version of him? And what makes Peach Peach? Is it enough to merely transplant some of her physical femininity, or does a mix of her and Bowser demand the full dress, makeup, earrings, and hairdo? And this is not even to mention the explosion of spin-off art putting the Super Crown on all kinds of other Mario villains. For a character designer, these are interesting and important discussions that force us to think about some of the fundamental principles of our craft. What makes a design? What can you take away? What can you twist? What can you change without completely changing the person it's depicting? Now, I don't mean to suggest that the artists drawing Bowsette all collectively decided to engage in a high-minded academical discussion about the principles of art. They're just having fun, and that's completely fine. That's what makes this such a wonderful thing. Videos like this one are generally produced by over-enthusiastic, idealistic art nerds like me, only in hindsight. But for all of this, I'm not really sure if I have a point in making this video. I'm just really delighted, and I've had a lot of fun seeing all the character design that's coming out of this. I take it as a lesson and as an inspiration, because if anything, the viral success of Bowsette proves that even a game series as visually set in its ways as Mario can still produce really interesting new ideas when filtered through the minds of creative artists who have the right ideas at the right time. Hey, thank you very much for watching this video. This was a little bit odd. I usually talk about specific video game characters and not fan-invented characters in this video series, but just I just got excited, basically, by all the really good and interesting Bowsette fan art that I saw floating around out there. So, if you've enjoyed this video, there is a like button down below that you can click that will... it tells YouTube that you like the video, which is good. It's good that you like videos on YouTube, I think, or so I'm told. It's probably better than not liking videos on YouTube, because then why are you here? You can also subscribe. There's a subscribe button, and there's a bell icon next to the subscribe button that you can click on in order to actually subscribe and not just pretend like you're subscribing, because YouTube is like that, and you just, I don't know, just help, please watch my videos. I don't know how to make people do that. YouTube works in mysterious ways. I also do have a Patreon that if you're so inclined and you have an extra dollar lying around that you're not gonna need, I'd be happy to take it off your hand. I want to help you get rid of that dangerous responsibility of having an extra dollar so that I can have those extra dollars and use them on stuff. Food is good. God, I'm so hungry. If you can't support on Patreon, or if you don't want to, of course, that's completely okay. I'm just happy that you have watched the video at all. That is more than enough for me. Now, if you didn't like this video, then I mean, I guess I'm sorry. I tried my best, and I promise next time I'll do better, and I can make you proud of me, Dad. Audience. But there is a dislike button down below that you can click on if that's what you want to do. But just a little health and safety warning is when you click the dislike button, the ground that you're standing on will begin to shake and then eventually fall away into the lava pit that lies below all of our feet. So be sure that you're on the other side of that before you click the dislike button, and then you can proceed into the next room where you will finally be able to rescue the beautiful young woman who was taken away and whose life your entire quest has been revolving around saving. Unfortunately, as you enter the room, you're going to realize that no, this is not actually her. It's yet another decoy, some little dude with a mushroom head telling you that, like, the last 4 levels that you were running through is pretty much just pointless. There's no reason to do it, really, because, like, she's not here. She was never here. It was all the distractions, and now you have to go and do, like, the whole thing just all over again. You gotta jump on things. You gotta jump over things. You fall into, bottomless pits and die, and you have to eat more mushrooms. God damn it, mushrooms. They taste terrible when you can't cook them, but you gotta do it. And then you jump over, and then you get to the next castle, and, like, maybe that's where the princess is. Who the hell knows at this point, but you gotta do it anyway, because you can't go left anymore. Like, anytime you try, there's just like a wall, and you can't go left, so you have to go right, and going right just leads to more goddamn castles, and someday, it's all gonna be too goddamn much, and you're just gonna stay home, but for now, at the very least, you have to keep going and try and rescue the damn princess. Thank you very much for watching.